Let me tell you why you're here.
I've seen things.
Oh my god.
Whoa, yeah! You don't stop and look around once in a while, you could miss it.
Guaranteed to jack you up.
Yo, what is going on, my dudes? It's your host, LamarStaysWeird, coming at you out of sight, out of mind once again with the I've Seen Things podcast. Welcome, welcome, welcome. Hopefully you guys are doing fantastic. You know, I'm always wishing you guys much love and good vibes. We're going to be talking about a movie that I really enjoyed as a kid, and that is Dredd. There was a previous one back in 95 with Sylvester Stallone. I can't remember if that movie was really good, but I can see by the ratings it's not very well received. But I do remember in that movie, it was a bit of a problem that Sylvester Stallone didn't want to wear the helmet the whole time. He wanted to show his face because he's an actor. He really wanted to show off, and he hated to be constrained to just having most of his face being obscured through the whole movie. He had that star power at the time, and he really wanted to hold on to it. So I know that became a bit of a problem. But thankfully, in 2012, we had Karl Urban. Now, I'm pretty sure everyone has to be familiar with this guy by now because he plays Butch from The Boys, a very hit Amazon show that I really hope you guys are watching. If not, please go watch it. It is literally just if superheroes were real, man. If they were in the real world now, oh man, like God, if you haven't seen it, go fucking watch it. It is so good. I think you guys would really enjoy it. It's bloody, it's gory, it's emotional. It's all over the place. It's fantastic. The vibes of this movie really match that show as well. So definitely watch it. Not sponsored, by the way, but if Amazon did want to sponsor me or The Boys, that'd be fantastic. I would totally accept that. So yeah, if you guys want to get a sponsor, man, tell your friends. I have a podcast. I talk about movies and shit. Like, come on. You know, it's going to be here and there. I cover sci-fi. I cover horror. Every now and then I might cover something a bit more out of the box. Say something. I would really appreciate it. Remember to like, follow, or whatever else. I don't know. Just share this and tell people about it. I really appreciate all the love. I have been seeing it. I really do appreciate it, man. It means a lot. But all right, let's get back to talking about Dredd. So this movie came out 2012. It was written by John Wagner and Carlos Ezquerra. I really hope I'm pronouncing that right. I know I'm disappointing my grandparents right now so hard for not pronouncing a Spanish name properly. But they are the guys that created Dredd back in 1977. So they actually got to write on this movie. The screenplay was written by Alex Garland. And now, if you guys aren't familiar with Alex Garland, I'm going to fill you in right now, okay? This guy has done some pretty awesome stuff. He wrote 28 Days Later, the zombie movie back in 2002 that I think that gave us Cillian Murphy. Yeah, that was his, I believe that was his film debut, if I remember correctly. Hopefully, I'm not wrong on that at all. But they gave us that movie. It's held as one of the best zombie movies ever made. I think he introduced the very fast moving zombies, like the rage virus and stuff. If I remember 100%, you know, I'm kind of just going off memory right here, not research. He wrote The Devil May Cry game back in 2013. He wrote that. He wrote Ex Machina. He wrote the screenplay for Annihilation with Natalie Portman. If you guys haven't seen that movie, it was pretty good from what I can remember. It's a movie I would probably cover. I mean, it's pretty sci-fi and horror. Dude, the bear scene in that movie alone was terrifying. That was such a great scene. So they had a really good writer for this, and it shows. This movie is really dope. And respect to Carlos. I really hate that I can't pronounce his name properly, but he passed away back in 2018. So mad respect to him and his family. But now John Wagner III, they both worked on Judge Dredd 95. And John Wagner also worked on Chronicle, which is another really good movie that I believe was very inspired by Akira. It is fantastic. I will 100% cover that movie one day. I love that movie, man. It has one of the best villain performances I've seen. And it's so well written for the villain. Like, everything just makes total sense, man. It's great. And it has a young Michael B. Jordan. A very young Michael B. Jordan. It's so great. It's Dane DeHaan. Like, I'll cover it one day. I'm sorry, I'm going off tangent. I get excited about these things. Now, a little bit of history of Judge Dredd. So in the world of Judge Dredd, pretty much like America or just the Earth, just eradicated by nuclear holocaust. So a lot of open, barren, radioactive wasteland. And so what was left of civilization formed these mega cities. And that's exactly what they're called, mega cities. And the comic and the movie take place in Mega City 1. Now, if you guys want to have an idea of Mega City 1 and just how like fucking massive it is, it's supposed to trail from Boston to DC. That like one city, guys, and it has over 800 million in population. It is a very, very massive and very violent metropolis. And so to kind of keep things order because of what's left of civilization and trying to, keep the human race going, pretty much the police force was then granted the power of judge, jury, and executioner. So they're supposed to be like the tippity top of upholding the law. There's a lot of times where crimes would just be sentenced to death. Of course, it depends on what you're doing, but you could just get your brains blown out right then and there, depending on what you're doing. Like, there is no chill whatsoever in Mega City. So things could get very violent. Things could get very heavy. There's a bunch of gangs, crime. It's humanity on the brink of not being humanity anymore, pretty much. It's just people trying to hold it together. It's great. I've read some of the comics. I've played the video game. I've seen the 95 movie. I love the 2012 movie. It's something, man. It's definitely a treat. Very cyberpunky. So if you guys are big into that, which I kind of hope you are, if not, check it out. You guys might enjoy it, whether it be the comics, the game, or the movie itself. I think somebody would really enjoy it out there. And of course, the story does take place in the future, but the timeline is in lockstep with the real world. So back when the world of Judge Dredd was made in 1977, the year was 2099 in the comics. So being in lockstep just means it's continuing with time. As time every year goes by in the real world, the comic world as well. So I'm not 100% sure what time the movie takes place, the 2012 one, because if we're going by the lockstep time, 2012 would have been the year 2134. If we're going by that canonically, that's what the time is for the comics and the creators themselves who made it. But I believe in some of the Wikipedia and stuff like that, it's giving the answer that it takes place in 2080. So I don't know how accurate that is. I kind of like the idea it's in 2134, really far into the future. It would make a lot of sense. So that's kind of my own headcanon right there. I would kind of prefer to go with what the original creators are saying. I don't think it's very obvious in the movie. Of course, there's some futuristic things. Like, I believe their guns are kind of nanotech in a way. Like, they're healing. How much the resources have depleted in the world. Let's just say that, okay? Now, the cast of this movie is going to be kind of interesting. There is some curveballs here and there. So we have Judge Dredd, who's our main protagonist right there, our stern, like, follow the law, like, good bad boy, I guess you would say, is by Karl Urban. He's from The Boys. He played Bones in Star Trek. Eomir, I believe that's how you say the name. I can't remember. I haven't watched Lord of the Rings in a while, but he was in the Lord of the Rings. He played John Grimm in the Doom movie back in 2005 with Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson. I like that movie. I know a lot of people didn't. I like Doom. I thought it was kind of cool. I didn't grow up playing the games, so maybe that's why, but I thought that movie was fucking kick-ass, man. Maybe one day I'll cover that too. It's cyberpunky and horror, so yeah. And of course, I know not everything is cyberpunky if it's just futuristic, but I don't know. I kind of think, almost sorta, it walks a line. It definitely does. Now, even though this movie does have a cult following, unfortunately, I don't think we'll ever see a sequel as much as Karl Urban would love to. I know he's talked about it pretty recently, like I would say within the last couple of years, that he'd be down to return, whether it be for a short series or just another movie, because the movie had a budget of $45 million, but unfortunately it only grossed like 41.5 in the box office. It wasn't a property that a whole lot of people really knew about, sadly. And it's a shame. They did a really good job. He did a great performance. You know, he was a great choice for Dredd, and hopefully one day we revisit it. But you know, I'm not gonna hold my breath. But I love him in The Boys. He's doing fantastic. Great shit. And we also have Olivia Thirlby. Thirlby. I don't know how to say her name. Olivia Thirlby, maybe. Last time I saw her, she was in Juno with Elliot Page. At that time, Ellen Page. She played Leah. She was the best friend, the cheerleader, the redhead. Olivia is very much a babe. The blonde hair does look pretty good, and I believe she was a redhead in Juno. That was the redhead's interesting, but I don't know. I think the blonde looks really nice. The blonde and short hair. We also have Lena Headey from 300. She played the queen in 300, and she was also in Game of Thrones, Cersei Lannister. And then a very surprising one that I can't believe I never really noticed before, Domhnall Gleeson. He plays a clan techie. That's kind of that's the name that he's casted under, clan techie. He plays General Hux in the sequel trilogy of Star Wars, and he also plays Bill Weasley, dude, in Harry Potter. This dude is in 2 major franchises. Good for him, man. He really came up after this movie. I'm really proud of him. Good shit. All right, so we're going to get to the non-spoily part. I know this took me a minute because I did a lot of talking, but so this movie starts out, the first 8 minutes of this movie really set the tone for you. That's not the spoilery part. This is just me telling you. Yeah, it sets the tone. You know exactly what you're in for with that. It shows off all the right things. But it's almost like a buddy cop movie, but with less humor. So Olivia's character, Anderson, is a trainee that doesn't exactly meet the standards for judges. And Judge Dredd is a very straightforward, by-the-book kind of guy. He takes his job very seriously, and he is, like, to a T, you know, dotting I's, crossing T's, telling you to look at that and look at these, gonna give you the birds and bees talk kind of guy. So he knows that she doesn't meet standards, and he's kind of confused as to why, but she's brought along because she is a mutant. So in the world, mutants are a thing. Not like X-Men mutants where they have all these fantastic powers and stuff. No, it's just a little bit of things here and there. Just some abnormalities, I would say. And they are very much a kind. I don't know if it would be race. I don't know if they classify them as a race of people, but they're definitely people that are not looked at very well. And they're usually the people in very unfortunate circumstances. And she was infected because she was born and raised close to all that radiation from all the nuclear bombs. That radiation kind of just spills over a bit into the city. And if you're in like low income, like housing and all that stuff, and you're kind of on the poor end or the streets or anything, you're living on the outskirts of the city. She was able to be mutated and she developed psychic powers. Now she happens to be the most powerful psychic that they've met. And she was able to display those powers in front of Dredd. So he was requested to just train her, take her out on the field, see how she does, see if she can handle everything, because she only failed by 3 points. Dredd, for him, that's just a fail. That just means you didn't make it. You didn't make the team. Like, that's it. You're cut. But the Academy wants her to succeed because she is the most powerful psychic like they've ever seen, and they want to use that. So they want to bring her in and put her under somebody's wing that will actually lead her the right way and show her the ropes. And boy, does she have a hell of a first day. Okay, it goes balls to the wall, and she gets put in the deep end really quickly. And now, so this is something that's said directly in the movie. This is how much crime actually happens in Mega City. There are 12 serious crimes a minute being reported. 17,000 crimes a day are reported, but they can only afford to respond to 6%. 6%, dude. That is fucking wild. I can't even imagine that. I've only had to call the cops one time on something, and dude, we had to wait like an hour and a half. Thankfully, it was nothing too serious, but if it was serious, but I'm glad it wasn't worse, because holy shit, you don't even know if you're gonna get a judge. And there's a good chance you wouldn't get one at all because there's so much and so many people. And this is another messed up thing. It's up to the judge's discretion on what job they want to take. So because that it was her first day, Dredd let her pick what call it was, and it happened to be a triple homicide that happened at a mega block, which is pretty much like the Flats, a 200-floor apartment. That's pretty much what it is, just this giant skyscraper for apartments. 200 floors, man. And this one complex is housing thousands and thousands of people. So they get a call, triple homicide. She decides to take that one. They go there, and through some detective work, they're able to find who did it, and they're going to take that person in. But what they are unaware of is Peach Trees, the mega block, is the main source of this new drug called slow-mo making its way out into the streets. So the main supplier and distributor is Mama, Lena Headey's character. She is the worst mommy in the world. So if you guys have mommy issues, I don't know, this might trigger something. One of her associates gets caught and she notices. And she already knows if he gets taken in, he's going to talk. It's going to attract a lot of attention because supposedly, from what a character said in this movie, Peach Trees hasn't had a judge in their presence in a very long time. So she definitely doesn't want her business or anything getting ruined by that. So now she uses her power and influence and shuts down the whole block. And she makes it her job to make sure those judges don't get out alive, that it just gets looked at as a call gone wrong, nothing else, gets swept under the rug. So it becomes this big old hunting party. And her gang, like her crew, completely runs the whole building. They drove out and or killed the 3 other factions that were operating in there as well. It's a very bloody, beautiful, kind of CGI, kind of practical fest. It is great, man. The drug scenes look beautiful as hell. They make that, they make slow-mo look enticing, and it's done through an inhaler, so I could probably handle that. I don't do the pot anymore. You know, unfortunately, it's not for me anymore. I don't really like how it makes me feel, the taste or the smell. You know, that's just me. I prefer drinking. But mind-altering substances, I'm kind of okay. I think it's, I think it's cool. People should do what they want to do, you know, as long as they're not hurting anybody. Use them in moderation. Trying to stay on the ups, not the downs, okay? Thumbs up, thumbs up. That's how we like it, you know? But this movie is very gritty. It's bloody. The effects are done really well. The action is perfectly packed in your pelvis. And it's a short runtime. It's only like an hour and a half, so you're not taking a bit too much time. So it's really worth the watch if you guys haven't watched it. We're going to kind of get into the spoilery parts of the movie. So if you guys haven't seen it yet, we're kind of shifting now. So maybe come back and listen to this later. Or if you're going to stick around and listen, hopefully this convinces you to watch it. All right, let's go. So we start this movie off with a bit of narration, good old like noir narration. And we get to see like a bunch of shots of the city, and we get Judge Dredd pretty much explaining everything to us about, you know, 800 million people, nuclear holocaust, mega city, mega highways, pretty much giving you the whole rundown about everything. Now, I'm not going to try to take forever talking about this movie, going scene by scene by scene by scene like I've done previously. I'm trying to get shorter at that. I want to keep these things about an hour or so, just talking about these movies and maybe some themes and stuff. So I am definitely going to try to start simplifying it a bit more. Like, if you guys did enjoy that, I'm sorry. Which is, I can't do that for every movie, especially movies that are going to be like maybe 3 hours long or anything, which are ones I will cover in the future. So bear with me here. Still trying to work out a format. But we start off a call, and Judge Dredd is going to be the first one to take it. He's the closest to it. He takes a call. There's a report of shots fired and a speeding car and doing some slow-mo at the same time, being a bit reckless. And once they see that a judge is on their tail, they immediately just start freaking out and are already like, yo, kill him. So, you know, leaning out the window, just shooting at everything, shooting at cars. And that's adding on a charge. You got to think they charge you as the situation progresses. So at first it was just them, you know, speeding, you know, endangering, you know, civilians around you, the shots fired that was reported. So I don't think those are immediate things to worry about or to get executed over. But each decision you make, it really does go against you. So the moment that they start shooting at them, he already makes the decision, okay, these guys are going to get executed. They seem to be under the influence of something. They're driving erratically, and they just try to kill a judge. So that's automatic death right there. Like there's no ifs, ands, or buts. The system is like ruthless, okay? Every little thing you do, every step you take, every breath you take, they'll be watching you, man. So it's like you really got to be on your P's and Q's when you're working in the city. One, you got to make sure you don't get killed. And then two, you got to make sure you don't do the slightest thing wrong and get killed by a judge. So he takes the call. They're pretty reckless, driving, speeding, shooting, hooting, hollering, everything. They're doing everything in the book right now. Good old-fashioned police chase. And he only really decides to use like lethal, not lethal force, but to use the weapons on his motorcycle. A lot of judges drive motorcycles to make it super easy to maneuver through traffic other than having cars. Is when they hit a pedestrian. They just boom, hit a dude. Like on the like pretty much like on one half of the windshield. This guy's head just splats. Blood just covers it. And he calls it in. All right, they just killed a civilian, so I'm taking him down. And then immediately starts shooting, and it just blows out their tires, and they eventually crash into some stuff, automatically killing 2 of them. He hears some gunfire, and he's able to see that somebody's running in the distance. And before he walks away, he notices the inhaler, the slow-mo. So this guy is able to get away and get a hostage. He gets a hostage, and they start to have this standoff. It's a little bit of negotiating, but in a way, there's kind of no real negotiation when it comes to a judge. So the guy's telling him, let him go, or else he'll kill the girl. And he's telling him, hey, if you surrender right now, you'll get this amount of time, and I won't have to kill you. And the guy's going like, did you not hear me? I just said I'm gonna kill this chick. Like what are you talking about? Like, you suck at negotiating. And it kind of goes on a little bit of back and forth. And then Dredd just lifts up his gun. So he doesn't even care. He lifts up his gun. He still has the hostage and a gun to her head and say, okay, if you don't comply, like you will die. Like your sentence will be death. And I think it's so funny because like I said earlier, I think their guns work off of some sort of nanotech. I'm not 100% sure, but I would imagine so. They have all these different types of bullets and ammunitions in their pistols. So he does a little bit of wordplay and calls the guy Hot Shot. And the guy goes, what? And then Dredd just goes, I said Hot Shot. And his gun has a little LED screen on the side that tells you what ammunition, if it recognizes your ID, how much ammunition you have. And it just flicks and it says Hot Shot. And he immediately just pulls the trigger and it looks like a flare just shoots straight into this guy's mouth. Fucking sharpshooter this guy is. He hit him with the good old high noon from Overwatch. And it just melts in this dude's mouth. He couldn't even react. It's just glowing. His cheeks are like burning, melting, and his skull is kind of starting to like show through because of the skin just melting down his face like a Glade candle from Walmart that you got on sale. That's exactly what's going on right now. And it looks awesome. Super gruesome, and I love it. So he gets a call and they're asking him, did you end your chase? Did you do your job? Affirmative. Got it done. And he's like, good. So now head over to the Hall of Justice. Pretty cool name, by the way. And so they bring him in because they want to introduce him to his new trainee. She's behind one of those investigation mirror, like two-way mirrors. She's sitting in a room by herself, just looking at a picture. This is Olivia's character, Anderson. And so Dredd starts to get the rundown from the chief judge. So pretty much the head judge. She lost both of her parents at 7 because they developed cancer. How her score wasn't really great. She failed by 3 points. Dredd's automatically, no, she failed. Why is she here? And then she goes to ask Anderson, how many people are watching you right now? And she's able to like focus in and notice there are 2 people standing there. And she's able to pick up that he's a judge, it's a male, and she's able to pick up his feelings as well, saying he feels anger, but he has control. But there's also something else deep down, and she gets cut off before that. So I'm actually curious, what did she see deep down in my boy Dredd? And by the way he talks about it, he just straight up says, she's a mutant. The chief judge is just saying, we're going to overlook it because she's a very powerful psychic. Things are getting bad. It would be really nice to have something like that. They want to give her another chance, put her out in the field with a judge, see what she does, and maybe she can be a pass. The only person that can pass or fail her is Judge Dredd. He's the one supervising her. He gets to determine if she gets to move on or not. And the chief judge just says, throw her in the deep end. Just go. And then the judge is just like, it's all the deep end. I think I could do that better. I don't know. Hold on. Wait, take 2. It's all the deep end. Damn, fuck. I can't do that. I can't do that raspy, manly Karl Urban voice. But he does a really good fucking job. And he's like scowling the whole time. He scowls through this whole movie. This man is never going to crack a smile. So they head out. He's letting her know like the slightest things will end in a fail, and just pretty much giving her a rundown like, hey, if you do this, fail. If you do this, fail. Or if you don't do this, fail. And so he starts to tell her the stats, same things I was telling you earlier. 12 serious crimes are reported a minute. 17,000 a day, and we can only respond to 6% of those. And then she's like, how do you know which ones to respond to? He said, well, it's up to you. Then we get introduced to Mama, Lena Headey's character. She's already breaking rule two of Scarface, getting high on her own supply. She's just laying in a bath and just playing with the water. And man, does it look gorgeous. The water just looks like sparkly milk. It looks like somebody has their Lucky Charms on steroids, man. Their Lucky Charms on acid. Like the water, it looks so beautiful, man. It's a white opal rainbowy, like, dude, it just looks good. And then you have Mama, who looks really fucking rough with a really bad haircut, greasy like hairstyle, and she just has this scar on her face and stuff. And she does have a tragic backstory. Like, she's a girl boss through and through. She did what she had to do, man. So her backstory is she was a prostitute, pretty much. She was just a sex worker. Sex positive over here, just so you guys know. Love who you want to love. Do what you want to do. You know, just don't hurt nobody. Get your freak on. Now back to Mama. So yeah, so she was a streetwalker, but she got cut up by her pimp or whatever, and she bit the dude's junk off. And yeah, she went from there, and she just started taking over his business after she killed him. And then once she did that, she took over her complex. She got rid of the other three gangs that were there, just going through murdering them all or just driving them out in general. So now she completely owns Peach Trees. So they call her from her bath because there's three dudes that they tied up. And the character K, he's probably like a leading dealer. He's an associate of hers. I caught these guys selling some other product on my level, and I beat the shit out of them not too long ago. I thought that would teach them a lesson. Obviously it didn't. And Mama is just wondering, why can't you do this yourself? Like, why do you need me? He said, well, I've already taken care of that. I didn't know if you want to make an example or something. So she just says, skin them and throw them over the ledge. So she wants to skin these dudes alive and just toss them over the edge to fall 200 stories. That is sending a message right there. Do not fuck with Mama, man. She is ruthless. Violence is like her go-to. Like, this chick will fuck you up or get somebody else to fuck you up. But either way, you're getting fucked up. And Kay has the bright idea, you know what? Why don't we just hit him with a bit of slow-mo and toss him over? It'll be a really long fall. And I don't think I explained what slow-mo does, but it's a mind-altering drug that makes the brain perceive time at like 1% its normal speed. So, obviously, slow motion. So these guys get skinned and they get thrown over the ledge and just splat, dude. They do not pull away at all. You see these guys go like just badonk on the ground. Like it is wild and a pretty nice effect. But man, those things thump. They really let you hear those. You know, they want you to feel the sound of everything and how they shot it and just how much you get to see. They wanted you to feel the way everyone else around them, around those bodies, is feeling. It's insane. It's gruesome. This looks like some stuff you would see on Live Leak. But it gets reported that there's 3 homicides in Peach Trees. Triple homicide. Let's go figure it out. So pretty much he's letting her kind of call the shots, but kind of sort of. He's still going to be the main one enforcing a bit. But he's going to watch her and see what calls she makes and how everything goes about. If you want an idea just how much of a stickler Judge Dredd is, he sees a homeless guy just sitting outside a Peach Trees, like right under the door shaft, like the giant barrier door shaft in case, you know, anything goes wrong, like another nuclear holocaust or anything like that. It's like these shielded walls that come down to protect the building. This guy's just sitting there, and it's really sad, and it kind of drives in how bad the economic system is and just the world in general for these people. It's a homeless man, and he has a sign that says, homeless junkie will debase self for credits. So that pretty much means he will do anything. It's kind of like will work for food sign, but this is different. This just means he will do literally anything for credits. So it's pretty much just degrading himself as a person. He will go through whatever. If it means credits for food or just another hit of whatever, he will do it, whether it be possibly sexual acts, maybe self-harm acts, or maybe just something humiliating for himself. He will do it, but he just says, Anderson, what's your judgment? And she just says, vagrancy. 3 weeks in the ISO cubes. That's what he would get if he doesn't move. But of course, they have to prioritize the killings, so they're gonna do that. Dredd just lets him off with a warning. He's like, "Don't be here when we get back." And the guy is like, "Okay," the guy gets it. But they walk on over. But they walk on over to the bodies. He's talking to the medic that's there in Peach Trees, and he's giving them the rundown of what's going on. 3 guys dead. They live in this building. So Dredd is doing some good old detective work, and he's looking around, and the bodies are really bloody and messed up, and some of them just like mostly exploded because of the splat. But he lifts the top lip of one of them to see the burns that are there. So he knows it's from slow-mo, that he was on a drug when he came down. But they run the names, and so they figure out exactly who the people are. They know they're based in the building and what addresses they live at. So Dredd asks Anderson, what's your analysis? What do you think happened? She's looking around. Okay, they were drugged, they were skinned, and it was done in public. So obviously somebody wanted to send a message. And that's when the doctor tells him, yeah, it's a message, don't fuck with mama. And Dredd's like, who's mama? And then he pretty much gives the exposition dump of who mama is, and gives the whole backstory that, she used to be a streetwalker. Her name is Madeline. We kind of get this montage of her accomplishments, I would say. But this is where we get to see the techie get introduced. It's a small scene where we see Mama, because he's talking about her violent tendencies, and she's just gouging this guy's eyes out. So she just completely just rips this guy's eyes out, and he's just screaming in pain. And that character is Domhnall Gleeson's character. So they find out what level the guys live on, and so they're trying to figure out. So they're hoping that they can hit the floor hard and try to stomp out the gang or something. They're definitely underestimating the power of this gang and the influence that they have. So they show up, and it's right after these 2 guys just go in and buy some slow-mo to take some hits and kind of chill out. I forgot the name of what that type of thing is called, but kind of like one of the houses, like a meth house or something like that, where people just go and shoot up and just crash and just be high as hell and then knock out. That's kind of what's happening here. So this is where Kay, the one who skinned the guys and that beat up the 3 other dudes that were selling stuff on his floor, that's where he is right now. He's pushing the stuff, mainly from this room. So he kind of owns that level. That's kind of his floor. So Anderson and Dredd make their way up there. They talk about this is one of her first experiences being in this type of situation. And he's like, yeah, you notice you left your helmet behind, right? And she says, it messes with my psychic abilities. That's why I'm not wearing it. He just goes, well, I would assume a bullet would probably be worse, but okay. Fucking smart ass. And I love it. I just love that Dredd is very practical. It's like everything just makes sense and is very logistical with him. Like everything just works somehow. And I relate to that pretty hard because I'm a very logical person as well. That's just how I am. But they put a charge on the door and they just blow it open. And dude, this is one of the best shots in this movie. This guy's stomach, he has an exposed stomach because he's just wearing like a vest or something like that. And when the door blows up or like blows in, you just see this dude's body and his extra skin just warping and rippling like so much. Like, oh, it's filmed in fantastic slow-mo and it's done so well. And you're also seeing it in the drug-induced state because the guys that are in there are high, so you're kind of seeing it from their perspective. It's just an excuse to make this scene look as great as it does. But this dude's stomach gets ripped to shreds. And I watched a video recently kind of breaking down that shot. And supposedly how they did this shot with this dude's stomach just warping and caving in and rippling and all this other stuff. You see his belly button, his nipples just bouncing all around and shit. This was done practically with a really powerful air cannon, which if you look at that, and that dude's not small, and it didn't look like he had much body fat, but man, I bet that had to hit hard. I know that had to hurt. So they go in and they just start blasting. This dude's flying midair. Like it's probably the most slow-mo shot in the movie. This guy's flying in the air, and when it cuts back to them, they're moving at normal speed. When it cuts back to the judges, they're moving at normal speed. They're just shooting everyone and everything. Like people with guns, they're shooting them. So they're not like killing innocent people. And there's a few people left, and they tell them they're all sentenced 2 years in the ISO cubes for using a controlled substance. So the room's kind of cleared out, at least of all the dangerous people. So they call it in and they say what happened, and then they grab Kay. They arrest him because he's obviously the one pushing it. And while Anderson is cuffing him, she notices the tattoo on his neck is the Mama clan symbol, which is like a heart and it has the M's. And she uses her psychic ability to kind of see into his mind and that he was the one that skinned and killed those guys. And so she tells Dredd. Dredd's like, okay, are you sure? She's talking about, oh, I'm 99%. But Judge, being a very practical dude and not something he saw, he said, well, I can't just like give a judgment off 99%. And the guy is quiet the whole time. Kay, the man being arrested, he is quiet the whole entire time. But he's making these faces because he definitely understands a little bit. He's starting to kind of sort of catch on. Like, wait, how does this chick know that? You know, every now and then you see her mention something that he's thinking, and he just kind of looks like, what the fuck? Because they're not, they know of mutants in this world, but they're not super familiar to that extent. So then we cut to the techie. He's in his room just doing his little things. He's the one that watches all the cameras, and he has eyes now, but his eyes are cybernetic. They're all like, all right, you know the white in your eyes, how it usually has like the red veins? He doesn't have any of that. It's just white eyes, white with blue irises. And so he sees that the guy's room got broken into, and he rewinds the tape or the footage, and he sees that he got arrested. The techie told the right-hand man's telling Mama, you know, chain of command. That's kind of how it's going. And she gets upset. The first thing she asks when he got picked up, did he get executed? And they said, no, he's getting taken to interrogation. She already knows that guy is going to talk the moment he gets into the interrogation room. They're worried about their whole operation just being shut down. So she goes into defense mode. She tells her techie, break into the system of the building, try to lock it down. Get a hold of the people that are in charge of all the emergency systems. We're testing out some of the shield walls and to ignore any distress signal. And they have this back and forth. Nope, nothing is scheduled. Are you sure? I'm pretty sure I put it in. Like, no, you don't have anything planned. And Mama is just directly behind this dude. Techie is so afraid of Mama. She's standing right behind him, and he's just sweating, and he just has this look of fear, and he's trying so hard to convince this chick, like, yo, please, just let this happen so that way I don't die. Like, he just explodes. He goes, God damn it, I put it in so many times. I made sure. Now we are good to go on this. My supervisor is breathing down my neck. And so the lady cuts him some slack. He's like, sure, fine, you're fine. We'll send it out to everyone to ignore the calls. And they shut down the building. All the doors come down. And dude, the junkie downstairs, he's still sitting there. He gets squashed by the door. He's completely smushed. And the judges see it as soon as they're trying to walk Kay out. They're almost out. And then everything just goes dark. And everything is lit up in red. And you guys know how I like harsh lighting. It looks nice. But then some emergency lights come on, so everything looks kind of normal. And then Mama gets on the PA system saying, Peachtrees, this is Mama. There are 2 judges here, and I want them dead. And if anybody gets in the way, you're dead too. So now everybody gets worked up. Mama sending everyone after them. Dredd has the bright idea. Let's go up a few floors. Let's find a place to hide out and defend. And they start to get pushed as soon as they're going up. And he's letting Anderson make all the calls. Like, what do you want to do? Like, how do you want to do it? You want to throw like gas grenades? You want to start gunning people down? And they do, man. They're going up on these floors and they're just mowing down people with these guns. And they go through a few sets of people. They go through this one group and then they get cornered again. There's another group. Dredd tries to give them the benefit of the doubt. Hey, disperse or else we're going to have to use lethal force. Get out of here. They're like, nope, you're outnumbered, so we're not going anywhere. We're killing you guys. Well, they get mowed down pretty fucking quickly as well. Like, the judges are nothing to fuck with, man. But Anderson, she kind of hesitates when it gets down to the last dude. The last guy's kind of surrendering, and Judge is saying, "Hey, he just tried to kill 2 judges. The sentence is death. Do it." And she's super hesitant about it, but she pulls the trigger. She just executes this dude like full on. And she's a little rattled by it, obviously, but there wasn't much that she could really do. You know, the job's the job. But now they try to make it back to the medical doctor, and can we hold up with you? The doctor goes, "I'm a doctor. I'm supposed to be neutral. I don't want to get involved. I'm not picking sides." Dredd's like, "You are picking sides, you know, by not doing something, you are." And then he just lets her know, "Hey, look, we're locked in here. This is kind of what we got to do. You guys are kind of dead. This place is hers. You know, I want no involvement. I don't want to die." That's pretty much what he's thinking, you know, self-preservation. And he's also trying to take care of the people that are around there. He doesn't want more people to die as well. So, of course, the doctor wants to be alive to help whoever is around. So they're still trying to sneak around. They're trying to go up a few floors. They're just trying to find somewhere to hide and hopefully wait for backup, because they did get to call it in that something happened. So they're waiting on that. And while they're walking around, they're still trying to duck corners and avoid being detected. And while they're at this one door, Anderson starts to read the mind of the person on the other side and starts calling her by her name. Obviously, the chick is going to assume somebody's probably caught outside, because who else would just be calling her name unless it's somebody she knows? So she opens the door and immediately just gets like her mouth covered and like a gun to her face, and a hostage and 2 judges are just in her apartment, and she doesn't make any noise. And Anderson knows that. She's like, yeah, she's not going to make any noise. She's telling Dredd this because Dredd's like, find a way to incapacitate her or something, you know, tie her up, leave her. And she just goes, no, there's a baby in the next room. She's not going to make any noise. So chick kind of picks up, something's going on. And it's like, look, and this chick just gives her the whole rundown. Like, if you guys need a way up, the way to get up to mama and all that other stuff, if you want to go somewhere, the elevator. It says it's out of order, but if you hit a number above 75, it'll take you there. It works. And she just says, I just want you guys off of my floor. I don't care what happens. I just don't want you around here. And on the way out, Anderson just sees a picture and notices the guy that she executed just a few minutes ago was the father. It's the husband of that lady. She kind of just sees that she broke up a family, and that definitely bothers her, you know, coming from a broken family herself. And now they're able to get spied on by Techie through the cameras because he has full control of everything. So he can see exactly where these people are going. And this is when they kind of decide to split up. He wants her to wait for backup with their culprit, with the guy that they arrested, Kay. And Dredd is saying, I'm going to go for Mama. You know, they know where we are. They haven't came for us yet, so I'm going to go to them. He's going to go like single-handedly take this on. And he gives her a warning, like, if I don't make it back, save the last bullet in your gun for yourself, because you definitely don't want to get taken alive, which is very true. Because shortly after they separate, this is when Kay finally starts to talk and tells her, yeah, like the clan, a girl like you, the clan would do a bunch of stuff. And her and Kay have this back and forth. They're kind of just talking shit to each other. He's just letting her know, like, yeah, you know, if they catch you, that's it. You're definitely going to want to save that last bullet for yourself. She goes, you know, I'll save the second to last for you. And that's when he talks about her being a mutant. Say, like, yeah, you guys usually have like stubby arms and 3 fingers. And I'm like, oh, yeah, you know, you look pretty nice, though. You know, just kind of saying that. So people definitely look at mutants and not the best light. But now he starts to play some mind tricks, saying like, oh, what am I thinking now? And it's just, he's thinking about them having sex, and she can clearly picture that in her head. So she's like, okay, you're thinking about this, like, to try to shock me. And he goes, no, if I wanted to shock you, I'd be thinking of this. And he thinks of something. I'm not sure exactly what it is, but it's just a close-up of her face, and she's definitely in some sort of distress and looks scared. And she just immediately hits him. And she's still trying to look around, make sure they're not being discovered or anything like that. But we cut back to Dredd going on the hunt for Mama. He's going around, but they already know what floor he's at. You know, they're able to see him all the way. So she wants to end this already. And she gets 4 like heavy artillery like Gatling guns and just blasts away at this one floor, ripping through everyone and everything, going through all the walls. You see people just exploding with bullets just ripping through them. But he's running and he's able to find Anderson and Kay again. And so they meet up and they use their gun to shoot an explosive into the wall, blow it up. And this is really cool. And I like how they thought about this. There's kind of like this one skating, like kind of skate park little section. It's only like one ramp or whatever. I don't know what to call it. I'm sorry. I wasn't really a skater. But they got this one thing. It looks like a U. I don't know what that is. If you guys skate, maybe you know what I'm talking about. You know, you just skate from one side to the other. They have that quite a few floors up. So it's really cool. They got a little like kind of playground hangout area for people who skate. That's really awesome. I dig that. That's some nice creativity right there. But they go out there and they're finally able to get signal and they're able to put a distress call that there was an explosion, you know, that they're under attack. But then they know they can't stay out there because, you know, they're just stuck there. You know, they're just stuck on the outside on this one part. So they have to go back in and hide again. So it's keeping the area very contained. And so while the guys come looking for them, her right-hand man is part of the group, and she's just looking on the other side of the complex. And she just starts to hear her guy kind of yelling about, and it's just fucking Dredd just dragging him and throws him over and just completely lets him plummet to the ground. And Mama is just watching the whole thing happen. And he just walks away without saying anything like a boss. He, man, a few words, but damn, he will do plenty. But they get in this room. Judge Dredd is having enough. So he just starts beating up Kay and is trying to figure out, like, okay, all of this, like, what's going on? This is all too much. Like what's really happening here? He's putting it together, like, okay, she doesn't want you to talk. They mainly want you to die. And, of course, all 3 of us to die. So it's like, what is it? What is the deal? And so she starts to tell him. And so Anderson has the idea, well, if he won't speak, I can just go into his head. And so she goes in his head and he's kind of free to do what he wants, you know, 2 astral beings just in this black void kind of area. And he's just gloating about his fucked up head against her head. Like, you know, it won't work out. Like, I don't know, weird dialogue right there. But he's like, yeah, you know, like, this is my head. I'm going to freak you out. She's like, yeah, you know, you can try or whatever. But she starts to turn the tables, man. She immediately starts messing with him and gives him the image of Mama, like, biting his junk off. You don't see it, but, you know, you see Mama with a bloody mouth and he's clearly holding his junk. And so she's going ham on him, just full on mind wipe going. And so she sees all the torture and everything they do, and then sees that this is the main place where they're supplying, distributing, manufacturing slow-mo. Like, it is the base of operations. And Mama wants to keep all that together, so that's why nobody's getting out. So they now pieced it together why they're actually being hunted. But, you know, their distress call actually comes in handy a little bit. 2 judges show up, but Techie's kind of keeping them at bay, saying, hey, I lost control of the system. It's going to take me a while, so it's not much I can do. And they rush him. Well, you better hurry because we heard about an explosion and we heard about 2 officers being shot at, so we got to get in there. So this is where they come up with a plan. Yo, Anderson, Dredd, they're talking about it. It's like, well, we got to go kill Mama now. And then Kay is just in the corner, bloody and pissing mess because his mind being all fucked a little bit. He pissed himself. So they go on the hunt. They drag Kay along. They're going down more hallways. They're climbing their way up, man. They're working their way up there. And it's sad because of how much control she has over this building. Whenever they get out of that one classroom, you just see these 2 kids, like teenagers, just sitting there, definitely scared to approach them with guns, but they both have like pistols and they're trying to talk each other into like, no, you go first, like you go first. So, and they're kind of like stalking them, but they eventually catch up to them and they're kind of distracting Anderson and Dredd. And Dredd's just obviously poking at the fact that these kids have no idea what they're doing. He's making them doubt that they're actually going to shoot him because their guns are on safety, but they're actually not. So it just gave him time to, lift his weapon and point it at them and tells them, I can either execute you or you can like spend the time in juvie, like, the ISO cubes and stuff. And while all that's going down, Kay is setting himself free and he's able to get a hold of Anderson, being able to wrap his cuffed hands around her and is holding her hostage, has her gun pointed to her head and everything. And he's able to get into the elevator and go all the way up to the 200th floor, man. Dredd just lost his partner trying to take down some 2 kids. But he didn't kill the kids, don't worry. He didn't kill them, he just stunned them. That's all he did. So he's watching the elevator number go all the way up to 200, and he just gives like the biggest like scowl ever. And then we see Mama. She's seeing Anderson get dragged in, and all these guys hover around her. Like, that is eerie. Like, I hate that type of subject matter. It usually kind of bothers me because I've known plenty of people that have been on one end of that, and it's terrible. So that's always something that in movies it kind of makes me not queasy, but just like a little like tense because I don't really like those things. But she just tells him, no, nobody's gonna do any raping, no torturing, nothing. And then she punches Kay in the face and it's like, shut up, it's all your fault. Like, I just wish you died whenever they caught you. And they're saying they're just gonna kill him, simple, shoot him up, leave their bodies on a lower level and just let it be a bust that gone wrong. And then Judge Dredd is able to get on the intercom and let everyone know, Mama isn't the law, I'm Judge Dredd, I'm the law, and it's judgment time. And just ends it there, just letting them know, like, yeah, I'm coming for you. And that if anybody gets in the way, everybody will be either executed or, ISO cubes. So because he tapped into the PA system, they know exactly where he is. More henchmen come out. And this one dude, I don't know what's going on here. I don't know if this guy is like kind of cross-dressing in a way. He has like smeared lipstick, kind of, sort of. And he has this really bad wig. I don't know what's going on. But it's just really funny to me because it just stands out, like, very much so. But they start shooting up this like payphone looking thing. And they think he's in there, like, oh, he didn't go down. But it was just a dead body he hung up to make it look like they're standing. But he's on the other side of the complex, like a floor up, and he just shoots an incendiary bullet, and it just lights everyone on fire. And so they realize, like, man, this guy is a lot to deal with. Like, what the fuck? Like, what are we gonna do? And Kay's just talking to Mama, like, what are you gonna do now? There's no real way to stop him. And she just goes, call 911. And what do you know? We cut to 4 judges speeding their way down to Peachtree's. And they just walk up all like suited up. And those 2 judges from earlier that were responding to the stress call and were waiting to be let in, they're there. And the others are like, yo, so we had a distress call. Like, why aren't you in there? And the other 2 judges tell them, well, they said there was a malfunction. They couldn't let us in. And one of the dudes walks up to the PA. This is like, judges, let us in. And it immediately opens. So just kind of like just slapping their balls on the guy's forehead. And they just tell him, you know what? You're relieved of duty. So the other 2 just look at them. So now they're going their way up. They know they need to kill the judges, Judge Dredd and Anderson, not knowing they're a thing. And so they're talking about what happened. And the medic comes up and actually tells them, no, this is what's happening. There are 2 judges and it sounds like they're still alive with all the gunfire going on. And the judge is like, okay, are you willing to testify for that? And the medic goes, yes, and immediately gets shot in the head. They just killed a medic point blank. Those judges go all the way up to the 200th floor and they just immediately out with it. Million credits. And it's no surprise. I mean, it's 2 judges, like you want 2 judges dead. So it makes a lot of sense. They ask about the rookie. Mama says that she's still alive. And Judge Lex, that's the main one of that group. He's the one leading them. He just says, okay, make her dead. And then they're going to go hunt Dredd. I'm not trying to rhyme there. I swear, this time I'm not trying to do bars. We got more hallway scenes. Dredd just mowing down everyone he comes across, slowly but surely making his way up. And eventually he does come across one of the judges. They start to identify themselves. The other judge lets them know, yeah, I heard your distress call, making sure that you're okay. And, we're going to try to get you out of here. And Dredd asks him, do you have backup? Are you alone? So yeah, 3-man squad. They're coming here. Say, don't worry, you can relax. Everything's cool. Dredd notices you didn't ask about the other one. It's like there was a call for 2 judges here on a 1024, which is the code that they called in earlier. And that's when he pieces it together, and the other guy immediately notices, like, oh shit, my cover's blown. So they just start going at it, hand-to-hand combat. And in a very brutal way, he's able to get a good punch on him and kind of like leave him dazed a bit. And he just like pistol whips this dude's throat, and it just breaks, and you can see it. And he's just stuck standing there, like gargling blood. And when the other 2 judges come up, they just see the dude's body stumbling, and then he just falls dead. So now they know that their cover is blown, and they're really just gonna have to go all in on Judge Dredd now. It's gonna be full on judges versus judges. And now we cut back to Anderson, and now it's Kay, the one that they arrested, talking a bunch of shit to her now that she's cuffed and on the floor. And he's holding her again, saying, you know, I've always wanted one of these. You know, like it's awesome. And now he decides to use her gun. And whenever he goes to pull the trigger, nothing happens. But out of nowhere, it just fucking explodes in his hand. And just most of his arm is just fucking gone. And he is just completely in shock and notices his arm, like most of his arm is just gone. So he's completely freaked out. Anderson is just able to stand up and just fucking roundhouse his ass. So Mama is able to hear everything going on, hear all the commotion, like, great, that's happening. And so she sends the other judge to go for her. And then this is a female judge. So there's one more judge. So there's 3 dudes and 1 female judge. Female judge is now sent to go find Anderson. And then now we cut to the other 2 judges that are now hunting Dredd. And so they're having a bit of this back and forth, talking about the job and how much it costs to pay off a judge. So they're all being super stealthy in this lab where they're cooking everything. And so they have this shootout, and then this is really cool. And going back to earlier, how they're able to like change the ammunition. Dredd just says high X, which I believe is just short for high explosive. He's able to do a drop shot, good old fashioned Call of Duty maneuver, and just shoots one of the judges in the head, and it just explodes like most of the top half of his body. So that's 2 judges down from that squad. So now it's him and the leader of that squad. And they have another shootout. And unfortunately, Dredd isn't able to get as lucky this time. The other judge, Judge Lex, is able to do some armor-piercing ones and shoot through a wall and kind of shoot him in the bottom right abdomen. It goes through the wall, through his back, out the front. And it kind of incapacitates him a bit. He just kind of like stumbles down. And the other judge thinks he's won and is coming up to him and holding his guns like, all right, you know, here we go. This is going to be the end for you. And Judge Lex is getting super cocky about it, saying, wait, the great Judge Dredd, this is what you're talking about? Fucking wait. You're facing death and you just want to like live in the last few minutes of pretty much being a pussy? Like that's what you want to do? You're so afraid to see your life be snuffed out? And then he just gets shot the hell up by Anderson right behind him. And Dredd just goes, no, I was waiting on her to shoot you. Which makes me think, how long was she standing there to shoot him? Because if he was just waiting for that long, it's like, was she fixing the gun or what? I don't know. The timing is a little off on that. So now that they're fully equipped, they go their way up and they make it to the techie's room and they see Techie. He's hiding and he just lets them know, hey, I'm unarmed. Like that's it. Like please don't kill me. He just tells them pretty much everything they want to know. And Anderson, she reads his mind a bit and is able to see the code and everything and sees, you know, he's a victim. Like he's been severely tortured and he's just a miserable guy. She lets him go. She lets him get away. And Dredd is very confused. Like, okay, you need to explain yourself because you just let a felon go. You know, that's an automatic fail. And she tells him, I already lost my weapon. I've already been captured. And I'm pretty sure you've already made up your mind. I failed anyway. So I'm at least going to save one person right now. I can at least try to make a difference. So it's just more of shooting them up, going through the hallways, a lot of hallway shootouts. And Mama, she knows they're closing in. So you see her putting on this little receiver thing on her wrist and it's blinking. And whenever they finally catch up to her, they let her know, like, this is tied to my heart rate. This whole place, this whole level is gonna blow if I die. So you guys aren't gonna be able to do anything at all. And then out of nowhere, two goons that were just hiding, they spring out and they just start shooting. And they're able to take them down, but Anderson gets shot in the process, so she's kind of incapacitated a bit. And she's just hammering it in, like, oh, you can't do anything to me. Like, you know how many people live on this block? And if you think back to earlier, this is some pretty good foreshadowing that they did when that one dude had a hostage in the very beginning of the movie. He was still able to shoot anyway. He didn't give a fuck. He's good at his job. He knows he's going to do it. And he just told her straight up, this isn't a negotiation. This is a death sentence. And just shoots her in the stomach. And she just falls back, just slowly bleeding out. So he knows how to work around it. She's still technically alive. Nothing's going to happen. He tells her, you know, there's a lot of concrete here, and they weren't able to get signal earlier to make calls. So that was another bit of foreshadowing right there. He just lets her know, I don't know if your receiver, like its signal is going to go through 200 floors, but you know, we can test it out. Puts her up to the glass and just reads her all her crimes. It just goes, how do you plead? He hits her with the slow-mo, and obviously she doesn't say anything. She kind of just takes it, and he just goes, defense noted, and just shoves her ass through the fucking window in this beautiful shot. And dude, he doesn't even look back. He just slams her out and immediately just goes to turn away. Like, homeboy does not care. He just does this job and leaves, man. He does his 9 to 5 and that's it. And then she has this long way down and the glass just looks beautiful. It looks like that shimmery white opal I was telling you guys about earlier. And the smoke from the explosions and stuff, it just looks like white clouds just with rainbows in them. Like, it looks beautiful. And this, she's falling to her death. And it just looks incredibly beautiful. I think this is what Tom Petty was imagining when he was composing Free Falling. I imagine this dude was on something and just imagined himself like this. And it's beautiful. And then we cut to where she's almost about to die. And it's this really nice shot that is facing upwards. We're pretty much the floor, literally. And we see her just coming down and her face kind of smushes and you just see all this red go around her. So you see pretty much her head exploding and it just looks awesome. It's a really nice shot. They did a really good job with the CGI in this movie and everything. It still upholds really well, in my opinion. I don't think it does. I don't think it looks too bad. But then we get a close up of her receiver and it's blinking red. But you know what? No explosions. Nothing happens. And Dredd's just like, yeah. He collects Anderson. They get on their way out. He tries to take care of her wounds. And, you know, all the shields are up. So now it's daytime. It's the next day. They get to see other judges are there waiting, medical staff. And Dredd tells her, your assessment's over now. And she just hands over her badge. She just knows that she didn't pass. The chief judge comes up to him and asks, how was it? He tells her she did a good job. She passed. And we get to see Anderson in the suit again, and she's able to take her helmet. She's walking towards some bikes, and then we see good old Dredd just speeding away down a highway all by himself, which this part I don't see how, because there's so many fucking people in Mega City. How did he have a completely empty highway to just speed down? Like, I don't know. That's a bit impractical to me right there. But it was great. This movie is a fucking blast. It's oh man, it's awesome. Hopefully they do something again with this project one day. It's good. I like it. The comics are pretty good, pretty gnarly, and Karl Urban did a fantastic job. That's gonna be the end of that one. You know, we got to talk about that, give you a bit of history there. Yeah, if any of you check it out, please let me know. If you guys have seen this movie already, I want to know what you guys thought about it. What did you think? I'm very curious. Before we go, I'm going to give you guys another Cookie's Fortune, all right? Don't fall into a role created by someone else. You're a natural at the one you've got. Do with that what you will, my dudes. Once again, I appreciate all the love that you guys have given me. I've seen the stats. I've seen your messages and stuff. It means a lot, dude. It really does. I really appreciate you guys listening. But spread the word, let them know who I am and what we're doing here. It'd be really awesome. You guys can follow me on Twitter, Instagram, LamarStaysWeird, Letterboxd, all that's where you guys keep up with anything and or just me in general or the podcast. But until next time, be excellent, be kind, subscribe to the podcast.